Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure having you for another debate program of Viewpoint on DBS Television. Of course, the team again has mobilized to inform you and educate you concerning aspects plaguing the society. In tonight's edition, we are having Ngala Boris. He is an entrepreneur and the CEO of Boris Bison Asset. He will be accompanied by Mange Venashus. Good evening to you, Boris, and thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here today.
It's a pleasure having you as well. Mange Venashus, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Vanessa, and good evening to our viewers.
Let us take the first part of the show. In our first question, urban disorder in Douala, who is to be blamed, the government or the population? Boris?
The government to a certain extent, I would say, and the population as well. So both, no one can play wholly because all of them, they're involved.
All of them are involved?
Yeah.
So, but who to the greater extent?
The government. Because as an entrepreneur, I will tell you straight away, when the management of a company is bad, the staff won't be tamed. They will not do their job. So management is to be blamed. Okay.
Mange Venashus?
The population, Vanessa.
The population should be blamed. And the second question, should landlords in Cameroon pay taxes? Boris?
Yeah, to a certain extent they should.
Yes. Mange Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa, they should.
Yes, they should. Let us take a debate, so stay tuned. Urban disorder in Douala, who is to be blamed? Boris, you think that the government and the population should be blamed, but to a greater extent, the government falls in it?
Yeah, I say the population first of all, because we say charity begins at home. It's not about the government here alone. I would not say the government. I will not point a finger at the government alone, because you get to a point where you are at the street light and it is red, and maybe a bike rider is about to cross over. He is seeing red signal already and he wants to cross over. That in that case, you will not blame the government, because he is deliberately breaking the rules, and so the government cannot be blamed for that.
Okay. And the role of the government in creating this disorder is not as a result of poor town planning?
Well, poor town planning,
because when we talk of disorder, it falls in it also. Of
course, poor town planning, poor management of our resources, and we would want to say, I would want to say personally, I would want to say that when there is poor management in place, everything will go wrong, because it begins from the head. You know, it's something that has to do with the mayors, with the city mayors. It has to do with those in power, those that have the power to do something, to get something done. And when they don't do their job, probably the population will not follow what example they would leave for the population to follow. So they wouldn't have a roadmap. They wouldn't have a clear-cut vision that this is what should be done. So, like walking around, you see dirt everywhere. Me myself, I feel very uncomfortable at times to, you know, like when I'm walking around with something, a trash in my hand, I would look for somewhere to a trash can. I'm used to that. I'm personally used to that. So I would not, if I throw it somewhere, I would not blame the government for that. I would only blame the government when there are no trash cans, as as a normal thing in Douala.
That's a normal thing.
Yeah.
So it is you're actually blaming these city mayors and all others involved in helping to create this order in Douala. But at least we know that rules have been put in place to stop this. You have where you have to park your car or your vehicle. There are street lights to control at what time should a car pass, at what time should a bike cross, at what times should the pedestrians actually cross the road. We know that laws are put in place on how you construct your homes or your buildings. But then when all these are not being respected, do you think that it is the government?
then it's not the government's fault. I would want to say, for instance, like in Douala, it is totally congested, and people just say they came here to look for money. They want to do business. They want to do, look for money and stuff. And so someone who starts a business just carry maybe a container and ship something and just go and put it at the roadside without the authorization of those that are the town planning or maybe the council. We cannot put it all on the government. We cannot put it all on the government. That won't be fair, because there are people who deliberately oppose rules that deliberately go against set rules that are there to help them, not to destroy them, but to help them, because most of the accidents that you see and people die at the roadside is caused by, for instance, someone comes and build and set up a business in an environment or in a place where there's no protection, there's no embankment, there is no protection from the road. It's quite close to the road, and so maybe a vehicle lose control and boom, there's an accident. Would you put on the government? No. They didn't put you there. They didn't place you there.
So what can be done? What can be done to avoid this disorder?
I would
in a major economic capital, Douala.
I would still say management has a problem. Honestly, management has a problem. Beginning from the councillor, whosoever is on that seat, I would say there's a problem with you. You have to sit up and do your job. Meaning, from that time when they realize that something is wrong, they should look for a solution. What is the solution? For instance, I would quote an example. Driving a car and you park somewhere, maybe close to the road, you have to see the way this council police, they harass people. They actually harass people. They are so rude. The guys are so rude. They harass men. They say you have to pay 25,000 before, else they impound your car. Yes, Mr. Mayor, if you have people that can harass men because of a simple parking, you should have people as well to do sanitary work, to find out, to check left and right who is throwing dirt where and who is doing what, who is building in an environment where it should not be, who is constructing a business, who is setting up a business in an environment where it's not supposed to be. So let them sit up. It's not just like keeping people as a council police to terrorize people here and there because they have that uniform that they're wearing as council police. No, you're doing a great job. Honestly, you're doing a great job. We're not saying you're not doing your job. You're doing a great job, but you should up the game to do to help the people, because these council police, they are there to help the people, but yet they terrorize the people. We're asking that you should implement some measures whereby there should be cleanliness in the city, because Douala happened to be, to me, according to my records, Douala is the dirtiest city in Cameroon, and it makes me feel very weird staying here. So you have to do something to change the game.
All right. Thank you very much for your viewpoint, Ngala Boris. Mankevena shows you are blaming the population for this total disorder in our economic capital, Douala.
Yes, Vanessa, when the image of Douala that most people, that I had, and most people often, when you think of Douala, you see a kind of a city. But when you get into that city, that's when you discover that we are in a city where there is the good, the bad, and the ugly in the city of Douala. The urban disorder in the city is so great a monster that we cannot attribute it to the government. Because when you move along the city of Douala, you discover that there are marked spaces for parking. There are well-marked spaces for buses, inter-urban transport, taxis to circulate, for where buses you could alight. Now, what you see in the town is total disorder, and I don't think it is the government. Vanessa, when you're moving along the street, you really see, a post indicating that there should be no commercial activity here. Just where that signpost is a woman selling or a man carrying out a business there without any remorse. You would see a one-way lane well indicated. You see arrows indicated one way. You see a car plying or a bike plying freely. Boris was talking something about traffic light. Mm-hmm. When you come to traffic light, you have the impression that it is meant, one, for private car owners and taxis and maybe
And
other lorries,
motorbike riders.
commercial motorbike riders. That is, you know, it is an open, I want to call it an open secret that they don't respect it. They come and they pass it, you know, they pass as if nothing is happening, and they go and park right where other cars are supposed to cross, but thereby creating traffic on the opposite side of the road, and nobody says anything. So it is not the government, because the government, those traffic lights mean you must stop here, and when you come there, there is a precise position which you are not supposed to cross. You are supposed to stop giving a certain distance. That those provisions have been provided. That is the work of the government. But now respecting those signs is one thing, and that is where urban disorder is created. Vanessa, along the streets of Douala, you see trash cans that have been placed there by the waste disposal company. You see what we do? Somebody would come, a trash can is there, he decides to empty the content of his trash can or of her trash can right in front of where he is standing. You see an empty trash can standing there, but around is littered with dirt. What is the, is it the government to come and hold your hand and empty the content of your trash can in that trash can? You are the one to do it. He was saying something about construction. We see government has always been singing that there are certain areas that are not meant for, you know, they are not residential quarters. But before you realize it, people are already there, living there. We've had instances here in Douala where you see floods come and, you know, sweep complete houses.
Landslides.
It is not as if they have not been indicating. They are crying that don't construct here, and the population keeps on doing. There's this thing of education which we need to carry out, and I think this is a platform where we should, you know, cry out this. We are not doing it for the government. There's nobody who is called the government. Or should we say Paul Biya? Paul Biya is Yaoundé. He does not even live what we are living here. He doesn't even understand what you mean by traffic jam. He does not experience it. It is you and I that we go through it every morning, every evening. So I think that we are doing it for our own goods. If they tell you, you are not supposed to take this lane of the road, go around. Vanessa, when you come to a roundabout, it's as if you are doing it for somebody. You are supposed to go around following a normal pattern and then come and continue your way, but somebody comes, because there is nobody, he cuts from here and then continues. You know, without any qualms. So I think that it is this lack of civic education that Cameroonians need. If you are not doing it for anybody, it is just what you need to do. When we talk of, he was talking of parking anywhere. When we have to start checking driving licenses, somebody who decides to take a car and is running along the street without a driver's license, it's not the government's fault. It is his fault, because you are going to you know, run into an accident. You don't even master, you know, highway code, and once you park anywhere, it is the disorder that we are complaining of, or people who just create makeshift structures along the road, just selling anywhere. I think the population needs to sit up, you know, in creating yes, Douala,
because even
city.
pedestrians practically, they no longer have their own lane,
and that's what
a lot of petty trading taking place along that lane.
Petty trading, you see, most garages, they are along the road. You struggle to where to pass. Somebody has placed, you know,
car wash points,
car wash point, all this. He was talking of Douala being the dirtiest, and I think we need to call Douala. Douala is not a city. If we have to look at cities, we will not qualify Douala as a city because of this disorder. We need to make Douala a city and not an extended, you know, a crowded town. That's how we qualify Douala. Douala is a crowded town.
But since it is the commercial hub of Cameroon, there is this urban migration. A lot of people do migrate here because they know
because of the commercial aspect, the commercial characteristic of the town. If it were to be a city, it would have been a well-managed, well-mapped out city. Mapped out does not mean it is. Douala has a pattern, but the problem is how much do we, the population, respect that, you know, that pattern, that town planning that is given for the city, or for Douala. When I call the city of Douala, it sounds too heavy to have that.
Thank you very much, Mange Venatius, for your viewpoint. Our panels tonight are calling for civic responsibility on the part of Cameroonians and not government. And of course, everything has been put in place so that you know where to park your car, you know where to carry out any economic activity, you know when to cross the road and not to. So it's left for the citizens to respect all these rules put in place. Question 2, should landlords in Cameroon pay taxes? Boris, you think that yes, landlords should pay taxes? Maybe so many of them watching us at this particular moment might be thinking that, all right, we are exposing them, because many of them, they are just at the background enjoying the money that their tenants do give them, forgetting that they also have a civil responsibility to pay taxes for these houses.
Well, before I answer your question, you permit me to say something.
Go ahead.
Away from the answer to the question, right? I would want to say I would not condone, I would not, play the game, the Adamic game of shifting blames, You know what? That you already know what I'm trying to say. Like, trying to, someone who is in authority, someone who is in power, someone who has the power to do something, and there come a time he tries to shift the blame to, she is the one who made me do this. No, I will not want to do that, because looking at some markets, for instance, I would want to say some things like in regards to the market, Sandaga, is it Sandaga market?
Sandaga,
yes, that is popularly known as Marché Sandaga. That market was built purposely to serve as one of the cleanest market in Douala, one of the most amazing market in Douala, to help people have the most convenient environment to do their sales and purchases. But now look at it, you get to the market and someone is deliberately peeing at the close to where someone is marketing vegetables. On the other hand, how would you say that the government is doing his job when someone is peeing close to vegetables that someone wants to buy?
These markets have toilets, Boris. These markets have toilets.
Okay, now what I'm saying is, if the government has empowered these city police that are moving about, terrorizing people that park maybe just for 2 seconds to pick up something somewhere, they should see cleanliness as something more important than terrorizing people because of a small parking space that we don't have. There are some spaces in Douala here in the city that don't have parking lots. You can't find parking lots, and so you park somewhere close by, maybe in front of somebody's door. They come and impound your car. They want to take your car somewhere else. If you see the emphasis, if you see the energy these guys, they enforce on this thing that I'm trying to say, you would, if this energy was redirected to, the sanitary sector, the cleanliness of Douala of Douala itself, it will be amazing. Now I come back to your question. I come back to the question that you asked. Should landlord pay tax? Of course they should pay tax. Of course they should pay tax, because some of these landlords, when you look at them, they are receiving huge sums of money. I would say specifically landlords that own commercial buildings should pay rent. I mean, should pay their taxes, because it's a system that is already functional in the UK. People already know about it. It's a business. It's a business. The government should not be on the side of losing. Of course, the government needs the funds in order to, carry out some other things. We used to hear that the government is running out of funds. The government is this. The government is that. I think with this, it could be a minimal amount. It could be a very small amount, but something should be chipped in order to run the affairs of the government, which is very okay. Which is very okay for commercial buildings, for commercial landlords, not just for maybe somebody who built his residence and you come to say pay taxes. It's not really worth it. Anyways, it depends.
It depends.
Yes.
So for commercial buildings, landlords should pay taxes.
Pay taxes.
All right. We are still together in the debate. Mange Venatius equally think that they should pay taxes, but according to your observation, in your viewpoint, Have you seen actually any of these landlords? They own a lot of big houses, they have tenants. Do they pay taxes?
Vanessa, when we talk of landlords in Douala, I think that we should make a distinction between the types of landlords we are talking of here. Most of the kind of buildings that we have, maybe commercial buildings, recognized commercial buildings. When I talk of recognized commercial buildings, if you go to around Aqua, other neighborhoods in Douala, there are buildings there that are used for commercial purposes. The owners of those buildings, intrinsically, they pay their taxes, because the negotiation is not the kind of negotiation that we do at residential quarters. Because at residential quarters, I do the transaction between me and my landlord. It ends there. But for commercial buildings, there is a transaction that you carry out, you pay, and there are some taxes that you pay, because you pay it, and there is a receipt that is given to you, a receipt given to you. And when you look at, when you go back to our quarters, to our neighborhoods, you discover that there are a number of people who are, they have so many houses. People are renting and living in these houses. These are the people, these are the kind of landlords that we say they need to pay taxes, because the amount of money that they gain, or that they receive at the end of the month, is equivalent to a kind of, may even be more than the kind of some businesses that we have along our commercial centers. And this kind of businesses, they go unnoticed. The government cannot account for them. And once they do like that, you discover that there is, what we call capital flight. Capital flight in such a way that the government does not, have any benefit. The government does not take any benefit from that transaction. Whereas, when you go into other commercial sectors, a simple transaction that you are making with somebody, there is an amount of what we call the value-added tax that goes into the government's coffers. But then, when we come to our quarter, somebody has a house, you see maybe 4 or 5 tenants in that house. They are paying the rent at the end of the month, and nothing goes to the state. Now, look at the relationship that exists between the tenant and the landlord. At the end of the month, by the 28th, 29th, the landlord is already reminding you that the month end will be...
The month has come to an end.
Yes, so that you start preparing to pay. Some are very rude, like Boris was saying, with municipal police. Some are very rude to a point that they don't want to see you dress well. They don't want to see you eat well, because they say the money you were supposed to pay them, you're already consuming. And that is why by the end of the month, they are practically terrorizing you. Some people live in Douala here, and they prefer to starve and pay the landlord, because they will not be able to even have peace. When you go back and work, you will not even come back and rest with the landlord that you have. Worst of all, when you live in the same compound with the landlord, it becomes a problem. So I think that this kind of landlords, they need to pay taxes. And when you see the kind of treatment they give to the tenants, they don't care to know whether you have problems with in their job site, whether salaries have not been. That is not their problem. All they need is, at the end of the month, they come for their money. And they come for their money as if, of course, they have the right. It is their houses. It is their house, their structure. But then they should know that the state also looks at them the way they look at the tenant. So I think that they need to pay their rent and regulate, because it's a business, like Boris was saying. It is a business, just like you go and you sell along the road, and you pay taxes to the council. So they should pay taxes. I think that the government should carry out. So
you're actually saying that it should not only end at a commercial residence, but then these landlords who have homes in their own compounds, they should also pay
taxes. Should pay taxes. I think the state should carry out an inventory or a census to find out who owns a house. Because Vanessa, I read a book about somebody, an entrepreneur was proposing something to the government of Cameroon, and he was saying that the government should pass a law that each tenant should not pay, the rent directly to the landlord. You pay it in the bank, in the landlord's account. Once you pay it in the bank, it is possible that the amount you pay could be tracked. The taxes could be deducted normally. But when you pay, when it is a hand-to-hand transaction between me and my landlord, the state cannot account for it. And another thing is, there is no flat rate of rent in Douala, perhaps in Cameroon. It depends on the strength of your negotiation between you and the landlord. Yes, that's why you will have the same structure, which we call in Douala here a studio. That's a room and a parlor. Some people pay 25,000. Some people pay 20,000. Some people pay 30,000. So it depends on the...
And depending on the neighborhood.
Or depending on the neighborhood and depending on the standard of the structure. There is no clear-cut amount to be paid. So I think that if government, like that's what I read, if government should, adopt a standard price, this is the amount that you pay, and you don't pay it directly to the landlord. Then we can track this such kind of transaction, and the government will yield in more profit to the government, because like he was saying, the government need this fund for the functioning of the state, Vanessa.
Thank you very much, Mange Venantius, for your contribution.
Thank you.
Boris, you will tell us a bit about your asset or your enterprise, Boris Bison Asset. What is it all about? It functions in what?
Boris Bison Asset is a company meant for investment. We do manage investments. That we have investment opportunities for investors, for serious businessmen and women out there that want to make a difference, that want to change the narrative. So we are based on real estate. In real estate we have land development and sales, and we have what we want to introduce hopefully in Africa, that is smart homes. Smart homes is a home where you can be able to have access to all electronic gadgets in your house, from your house via a phone, a cell phone, or maybe a gadget, whatever, iPad, laptops and all of that. And we also have agriculture, which is one of the main sector that we want to put more of our energy in. We have mechanization and we have mechanization and processing. So we want to do supply of food processing machines to most of the the farmers and all of that. And we are looking forward to open Cameroon agricultural market to UAE, to Middle East, where I come from. So Saudi Arabia and Dubai. That's what we're looking forward to do. And last but not the least, we have technology. We have so many other things that, but I'm just mentioning the main.
So where is this situated in Douala?
Presently, right now, we are setting up our office that is in Bonaberi, precisely just beside Royal Palace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. It has been a pleasure having you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you as well. Mange Venantius, hope to have you tomorrow.
We'll be there, Vanessa.
And to you, ladies and gentlemen, that was the package we prepared for you. Thank you very much for your keen attention. Do stay tuned for programs continue on Dbs Television. Good night.